Dr. Jacqueline Eubany is a board-certified cardiologist and an electrophysiologist. You never know what could happen with that. Mm-hmm. She practices in Orange County, California, and she's back on Big Blend Radio today to share her Doctor Insider success story. We first met her back in, I think it was late 2016, actually, when her must-have book, and I mean it's a must-have not just for women, but for men too. It's called Women and Heart Disease, The Real Story, published back then, and it's available on Amazon.com. Everyone go get it. Since then, she's become a regular guest on Big Blend Radio, guest expert, contributor also for Big Blend Radio and TV magazine, and she's been teaching us all about heart health, things we never knew, from the point of when a woman is having a heart attack, things that, you know, we always say, it's pretty obvious when a guy is having a heart attack, but not so much for women. It's apparently very, very different, and she's taught us a lot about that. She's also taught us the importance of regular exercise, ladies, and if you're going to have wine at night, you're only allowed a 5-ounce glass. We've been talking about that since day one with the 5-ounce rule. We've also talked about all of her world travels, from diving with sharks in South Africa to her recent trip to Panama, and she may have been somewhere else since then. Who knows? But it's been such a pleasure having her on the show and even on our Big Blend Radio parties. Go to her website. It's women-and-heartdiseasebook.com. Again, as I was saying, it's invaluable for women, but also for men, so that they can know about all the women in their lives and understand what, you know, the signs of a heart attack, and also understand heart disease for women, because it is different. And you can read her articles and listen to her past interviews on blendradioandtv.com. Welcome back, Dr. Jackie. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you also for waiting, because we were running a little late on the show today. It's just sometimes that happens, and we appreciate your patience, which is a word. We gave you 10 questions to ask for our website, and also for our next issue of Big Blend Radio and TV magazine, your 10 questions of what it's like to be a doctor, your ups, downs, challenges, and inspirations. And you talk about patience throughout those answers of those 10 questions. So did you practice that waiting for us?
Well, you know, it's one of those traits that you have to be a good doctor. So, yes, I'm good at patience.
Yeah, you are. You rock. Number one, like, I remember the first time you came on the show, we really didn't understand, you know, the whole issue with heart disease for women. I think we just keep going, heart disease, it's the same for men and women, and you really have. I know for our listeners and for our magazine readers, for Nancy and I personally, changed our lives in looking at what we do. Looking at my belly, I go, Dr. Jackie, you won't like that if I say, you know. So you've changed our lives. So I want to thank you for that and being part of what we do. We've got a next few years. I mean, we're in our 11th year of radio and 21st year of our magazine. So I know you weren't able to be with us on our anniversary party because you were working, being a doctor.
Yeah.
But we had a magnum. I'm sorry. Because we turned 21. But you're part of that. You're part of that, and we appreciate it. But I want to start talking to you about the beginning of your life. Your life started in Nigeria, and I think this is very important for the success that you've had, and for, I think, currently people maybe should really understand your story. So you started off life in Nigeria. So tell us, I know sometimes we've covered this a bit on the shows in the past, but it's important. When you got to the States, what age were you?
I was, I want to say 9, 10 years old when I came here from Nigeria.
And Nigeria, by the way, like, you guys know Napoleon Hill pretty well. You guys rock I don't know, just watching that Anthony Bourdain episode, watching like yes,
I know. It's fast paced, and yes, you saw that. That was good. That was very good.
And very, like, looking at how people there are very resilient and moving forward, wanting success and taking control of their lives. You know, so coming over here to the States. When where did you first land? Like, where was your first home here? Because I know you're in Orange County now.
Yeah, my first home was actually California, Los Angeles, because my mom is actually from New York. She had family here in California, She also had family back east, but she did not like the cold. And after she lived in Nigeria for those many years, she wanted a warmer climate. So we decided to move to California. So I grew up really in Los Angeles.
Right on, right on. So then, now you're in Orange County. Wait, I know we all like the climate. You know, Nancy and I, we are not good at the cold climates. We went from England back from Kenya to England to South Africa because the England
to
thing didn't.
Mexico.
Yeah, then we ended up in Mexico again after Florida. So yeah, you know, there's a thing. We get it. We get it. So then, did you think of being a doctor from a young age?
Well, I've always excelled in science. I don't think it actually fully came together until I was probably in high school, when the idea of becoming a doctor, became like a reality for me. Much younger, no, I was just, good in science. My parents just enrolled me in all the science and math classes, and I did the math and science competition. So my life just kind of went in that direction.
So when you look at being a doctor, did you think about like surgery, and you might cut people open and go, nah, I don't think so?
No. No, I never really had. No, surgery was not really on the top of my list at all. Even from a young age, I've always wanted to help women, and I actually went into medical school wanting to do OBGYN because I wanted to be this physician for women and all that stuff. But it just didn't work out for me that way. So I ended up with cardiology instead. But I've always wanted to just, be an advocate for women and, take care of women and things of that nature.
That's interesting. And then, so you served in the military, which I'm sorry, it's still working. You served in the military for a number of years too. It was in the Army, right?
Yeah, I was in the Navy for 12 years.
Oh, the Navy. Excuse me. Whoa.
You better get that right.
That's a big deal.
Oh.
No, it was an
there
awesome
goes my 5
experience.
tonight.
That's right. I think you already had it.
I did. Yeah. Happy hour here, even though it's quality of life show.
Yeah, it's always happy hour here. But yes, I spent several. I was actually in the Navy for 12 years. It was a wonderful experience. I had. Really? So yes, I was a physician in the Navy, and I got to do some traveling. I lived in Guam for 3 years, so that actually started the traveling bug. Living in Guam and having to travel back and forth to the States or to Hawaii, medevacing patients back and forth, and those kinds of things. After doing all that, living in Guam and traveling all throughout Asia, it's just I've always loved traveling since then.
Yeah, because it's so cool to meet other cultures and just like be different, and different foods, different people, different.
Like what's going to happen?
Walking down the street, different how people react is different, and then you're like,
yeah,
oh, man, this is cool. It's cool.
Absolutely, I think it broadens your horizon a lot to, be exposed to different cultures, learn different cultures. You're less afraid of other people when you get to know them when they're up close and personal. You realize that they're human beings just like you, and you're less afraid of them, and less stereotypes and things of that nature. So I think it's a good idea to travel.
Yeah.
And when you were traveling and being in the Navy. In the Navy. We have to sing for you, yes. But when you were doing that, did you have a specific role? Were you a medic?
You mean when I traveled? No. The travel throughout Asia when I lived in Guam, that was just my vacation time. When I would have vacation time, I would go and explore other parts of Asia. Because, Guam is this tiny little island in the South Pacific, just, right above Australia. So, you have access to Asia because I think I remember the flight to the Philippines or something was 2 hours, and to Hong Kong maybe 2.5, something like that. So you could do that on a weekend. So that's how I got to travel. For the Navy, I did medevac patients, transfer very sick patients from Guam. So Guam is a small island. They didn't have, it wasn't like a level 1 trauma center. There are a lot of services that we didn't have in the hospital. So for the very sick patients who required higher level of care, I helped transport them to Hawaii, to Tripler Hospital, which is the Army hospital there, for higher level of care. So on occasion, I would have to get on a medevac plane with the ICU kind of patients and transfer them to Hawaii.
Wow. You're like really getting into more of the emergency care side of things, right? So how does that compare to now as a cardiologist? And am I saying this right about what is the electrophysiologist? Because I just even realized what we put out on Twitter. I didn't even spell it correctly. I mean, that's a big word. Like, but I mean, are you doing emergency care through that? When you look at what you did in the Navy.
Yeah. It's not the same sort of. So when you're in the Navy and you're a doctor, sometimes it doesn't matter what your specialty is. When they need a doctor, then you just have to perform as a doctor. So as a Navy physician, you get to do a lot. And sometimes you practice. You just get to do a lot. You're required to do a lot, so you do a lot. But in the private world, you basically practice what your specialty is. You're rarely called on to go on for an emergency or treat a patient emergently. You rarely need to do that. So doing that though is good experience. Doing that where you just have to be ready for anything. It's definitely a great experience for physicians. Definitely great experience. So.
Now, when you decided, okay, I'm going to go into medicine, and I'm going to go into that, and you knew you wanted to help women, where did you go to study? And tell us a little bit about your background of that, because from what I know, that's a lot of work.
So I ended up in medical school in Boston. I went to Boston because my sister was there. I grew up in a family very strict, and my parents didn't want me. They didn't even want me to leave the state. The only way I got to go to Boston was because my sister was there. So I ended up going to medical school in Boston, and I was there for 4 years of medical school.
Oh wow!
4 years.
And it was actually very interesting training. I won't even get into that, but living in Boston is awesome for a young college or school age college student, because everybody there is a college student, and it was a great experience. And then from Boston, I ended up joining the Navy. Go ahead.
Oh no. Okay, so you went from Boston. Okay, so that was interesting. So, because some people do the military first and then go into into their college side of things. So you went from Boston into the Navy. So was that more of like your internship too, or did you become an intern in another hospital or with the other doctors?
Yes. Yeah, so I did my internship and residency in the Navy. So I initially joined the Navy because they paid for medical school. Medical school is extremely expensive.
Yeah.
So that was a way that I was going to pay to go to medical school. But once I joined the Navy, I really enjoyed it. I stayed much, much longer than I needed to pay back my time, because it was a great experience. So I did my internship and residency training in the Navy, but the electrophysiology part I did at George Washington University in Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow. You did D.C. stuff. I mean, I heard the driving sucks out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's short distances. But there's so much traffic, it takes you forever just to get from, point A to point B, So, yeah, traffic's pretty bad. You can only drive like 30 miles an hour, just a lot of traffic.
I know, how we're on this quest to visit every national park unit in the country, and Washington, D.C. has the mall, the National Mall, and all these parks, and and I have friends, a park ranger friends, are like, when are you coming to DC? I'm like, I won't be there because it's part of, we're going to get there. It's part of our commitment,
We'll just walk.
But I'm like, can someone just pick us up and take us around? Like, I thank God for Ubers,
Well, you can take the train. It's very easy to get around there in the train. But yeah, you would love it.
Cool.
There's a national mall there. There's there's so much American history there. I mean, it's a great place to visit, and it's a walkable town. And definitely you have access to the train, so you don't ever have to worry about driving if you go to the city.
Oh, see, that works.
Okay, so now because I've had my 5 ounces, Jackie. Jackie, it happens. It's later here in Arizona. Cardiologist, and exactly what is that? And electrophysiologist, because I keep saying it's an electrologist, and that's wrong.
No, that's not that.
Yeah, I got the two things wrong, and so now you're an electrologist on Twitter right now, so I hope you like that.
So I'm an electrologist. That is funny. We should invent a new specialty. That's right. So electrophysiology has to do with the abnormal heart rhythm. So your heart beats, and the beat is an electrical. It's generated. The force of the contraction and the beat is generated by electricity. So you have an electrical impulse, and then you have the heart beating. So what I deal with is that electrical impulse, because the electrical impulse can go wrong. There are many what we call abnormal heart rhythms that cause a lot of symptoms, and I help fix those abnormal rhythms. That's what I do.
So is that like I
hear Johnny Cat get a rhythm.
No, is that like when you see on TV and they do the stand clear and the paddles and V-fib and all that?
Right. So V-fib is an abnormal heart rhythm. So yes, I would take care of the V-fibs. So there's a whole list of abnormal heart rhythms. So that would be my specialty. I know this field is relatively new in terms of in terms of medicine as a whole, about 15, 20 years. So it's a relatively new field, and it's growing rapidly with all the technology that's coming out. So it's very interesting, very interesting. I'm glad to be in this field.
Well, I think it's interesting about the electric part of it because, I mean, it makes sense because of, our electrons and we got electrons, protons, and neutrons and all that stuff. It's really cool. Well, listen, because it does, I mean, go ahead, Nancy. She's jumping up and down.
No, I just want to ask this. If you
we're in science class.
No, I know because if you have a heart problem, and sometimes when you go to your car and you go to open it, you get zapped.
In the desert, anyway.
Or you're walking across the carpet and you get zapped in the desert. We have a lot of sometimes you can see almost like a little minor lightning flash between your finger and something you touch.
Really?
Yeah.
Come visit us.
Oh yeah, sometimes you don't even want to touch the car handle because there's a zap.
Yeah, we get zapped all the time.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering if that could touch off a bad experience heart-wise for people because because it's like sometimes I'm like I don't want to touch the car again.
Sometimes you feel like smoke's going to come out of your fingernails, but then there's some parts of you that says it feels good.
No, but it's
just saying.
True. I mean, it's like if you touch certain things, you're going to get a little shock.
Yeah,
I don't. Go ahead.
You got to come to the desert.
You can touch certain things, and like your car door
metal
handle, and so sometimes you'll see people in Arizona touch their car handles with their rubber-soled shoes instead. So
we could do a whole video of people jumping back off their cars.
You get this zap, and sometimes you can see a little lightning flash,
like a little electricity,
and
you can smell smoke, you can smell it.
Yeah, I'm wondering if people that have, you could get electrocuted or give yourself a heart attack.
I have a rod in my arm, so I always think that there's a conduit there, so that could do things because I have a metal rod in my arm, but does
an electrical shock, like a minor one, not like you put your finger in a plug, could it hurt a person?
Their heart,
their heart?
It depends on the proximity to the heart. If it's far away, probably not. and it depends on how much energy, or we call it joules, that you shock the person with. So unless you're really, really close to the heart, and you're using a lot of force, a lot of joules, then more than likely you don't affect the heart.
Okay, so now what about pacemakers? I want to ask about that, because is that part of like the electric thing that you're talking about, like that electricity we create, and does that what is that really, a pacemaker?
Yeah, so a pacemaker is a little device that helps generate the electrical activity in your heart in patients who are not able to generate this electrical activity so that their heart can pump effectively. So it's just a little can that we put underneath the skin, and we put two wires in the heart, one in the bottom chamber of the heart, one in the top chamber of the heart, and it just sits there and it monitors. So if your heart stops beating for whatever reason, the electrical impulse don't fire, then the pacemaker will take over and fire the electrical impulses needed to help your heart beat. So yes, that would be an electrical abnormality that I deal with. So we call that bradycardia, or slow heart rates.
When we lived in Mexico, we had some really dear friends, and after we lived, actually, we used to go stay with them after we lived there. And the lady, Nancy, her name's Nancy, not Nancy, here. She had a series of heart attacks, and eventually her husband actually died of a heart attack. And apparently his heart was like a giant, like almost like not a football, but it was giant, like it swelled up so much. But she'd gone through that, and she had a pacemaker, and she'd also, through suffering a heart attack and other things, had short-term memory, like a short-term memory loss. So like you would pour her a cup of coffee, and she'd go, take a sip of coffee and then think she hasn't had that cup of coffee yet. It was wild, Oh
wow.
It was kind of crazy. But remember staying there, and in where they stayed in Mexico, they were. This is crazy, but you've traveled, so you know. I remember getting in the shower. Remember that, and getting zapped. Talk about being zapped
while your feet are in water.
They would have like an electrical cord into the shower to make it hot. And all of a sudden I got in, and this is what I'm talking about. With my electric rod, my rod in my arm, this metal rod I have from an accident, but I could really feel it, and it did really go through my entire body. And I was like, oh my God, this is, you don't stand in the shower, you're getting electrocuted. And Nancy gets in the shower, she got zapped, and then we told our friend, we call him the Commodore, and he was in the Navy? I'm going to get it wrong. He was in the Navy. Yes, he was. Anyway, we tell him, and he freaked out because he's like, no. He gets in his shower, he gets zapped, and he's like, his wife Nancy's like, that could take her out. Like that, he was like freaked out because of her pacemaker.
You can't get anybody out.
And being electrocuted. So I just want. It's wild. All these I just never thought of. I know we learned in science class about like electrons and protons and neutrons and all that, but I never really thought about that, it being like electric. So that's how you can read it, right? Is the electric impulses.
Yes, electrical impulses, and that's what generates the mechanical force that allows your heart to beat. So yes.
And so the pacemaker, like if she got zapped in that shower, that could have really messed with her pacemaker.
If the joules were, I guess, or the force, the amount of energy was high enough, it could destroy the pacemaker, and it could, or make it malfunction. It would destroy it and make it malfunction, which you don't want, especially in a patient who is dependent on the pacemaker, because if that pacemaker stops working, so does that person. So. Yeah.
Does the pacemaker kind of wake up the heart, if I can put it that way? Like maybe your heart, it's going to beat so many times, and then it seems to slow down. So the pacemaker jabs it a bit and says, "Wake up."
No, it generates the electrical impulse for the heart. If the heart can't generate an impulse, then the heart has a problem. The heart is sick. It doesn't ever recover from that. That's why you get a pacemaker. So the pacemaker takes over as the impulse driver for the heart.
Wow.
So no, the heart's not sleeping. The heart's just malfunctioning because it's quote unquote sick.
Wow. So can you tell, like, Nancy and I need to learn more about this? Well,
it's complicated.
but it is complicated, you know.
It is very complicated. Absolutely.
It is, and it's so good to hear, like, and try to understand this, you know, because we're not doctors, thank God. I really want everyone to be healthy and go see you. So, do you work with, you know, people's pacemakers? I know that aren't they thinking about that becoming like a there's like a new, like, you can control it by computer or something?
Yeah, there's a big drama right now where the computer chips are flawed, and that includes pacemakers and your personal computer and all that. I know.
Yeah, we have what we have now is remote monitoring, where you can keep this little monitor. It's about the size of a cell phone on the side of your bed, and every time you walk by it, it reads the pacemaker and transmits the information to your doctor's office. So in a sense, the doctor is monitoring your pacemaker or your defibrillator every time you walk by it. And so that's actually good technology, but people are speculating that, you know, maybe that's not such a good idea because you can hack into information and turn people's pacemakers off. I don't think you can do that just yet. But, you know, there are always conspiracy theorists out there. But that whole monitoring has revolutionized the way we take care of patients with pacemakers, more so with defibrillators, because we're able to monitor their leads, their function, the battery life, whether or not they're receiving shocks, patients' physical activity. We can monitor all that from our office. And we can catch patients who are...
So could somebody hack into your heart and go make you love me?
Yeah. But come on, put those emotions in there. Give it the emotion drug.
That'd be so funny.
Give it the love drug. No, but I mean, but this is really, that's interesting what you're talking about, because I think you see all these news headlines, and how many of us actually understand how this is really helping, because I know we've talked about hypertension before and having a blood monitoring kit at home, a blood pressure monitoring kit, and using those. It's important that, you know, patients do that, but at the same time, they're not going to be as accurate as when you go to the doctor. Like, all I can say is, I know that you go, you put yourself on a scale, and then you go in the doctor's office, and it is not the same. Like, it totally sucks. Different, like indifferent.
It's always 10 pounds heavier.
It's a rude awakening. It's just like being on TV. Yeah, it's like, here it is. We're going to give you an extra 10 pounds just for having that 5 ounces of wine.
That's a myth that you look heavier on TV. They just say that.
No, it's
because
true.
They want to be
it's
skinny.
true.
I think I'm going to write a song called "I Hacked Into Your Heart."
Yeah, really. I know. No, don't freak people out. But
I know exactly. That's not true.
But this is interesting, because at the end of the day, you're able to even see people's blood pressure and how they're doing it, and that's something that a patient can't really monitor as well as this technology can probably monitor.
Yeah, this technology, yeah, exactly. And I think the next people are coming up with new things, and there's actually talk about pacemakers that can monitor your blood pressure, which is interesting, but we'll see how that works out. But the pacemakers can monitor certain features in the heart, and it becomes important in patients who have heart failure, where they accumulate fluid and they're short of breath. Sometimes we can pick this up much earlier in patients who have pacemakers by monitoring them from home.
But okay, so then the next step would be, as they're monitoring, can they do something about it?
Yes, we call the patient. If there's something abnormal, we catch it sooner, and we bring the patients to the clinic. So this is all to avoid hospitalizations. You know, avoid the problem getting so bad that the patients will be hospitalized for 5 days, which is not good for anybody. So the earlier we catch the problem, we can bring them into clinic, and we can take care of it, so that the patient is not sick for long periods of time.
Cool. Well, this is okay.
Keep in mind
this brings that because this is interesting, because you got hospitals, you got ER, and then you've got urgent care. And I was seeing something. It was an ad on TV. Urgent care. You can now book here in Tucson, northwest, whatever, down the road from us, bing, bing, you can, I didn't mean to say that.
No, don't.
Like whatever, you can push the buttons on your phone to make your appointment for urgent care. And I'm going, well, if you're in urgent care, shouldn't you be sitting there? And so they were like, we had this whole discussion last night. And we're like, where's Dr. Jackie? She's on the show tomorrow. I've got to ask her. Urgent care, hospitalization, ER. Like ER is like, and then that's in important times. And most people will wait and not feel good and suddenly end up there. And we have dear friends who've just gone through that. And I know you can hear me. I know, but. That's the thing is I think as individuals, I know we're talking a lot now with people that are have an issue, heart disease, and maybe having a pacemaker and things like that. But if you are pre that and suddenly now you're starting to have a heart attack or, you may not call ER, you may not call urgent care, and you may not, tell anybody anything or think, you're just tired. So where is that with who you should call when? I mean, it's actually pretty confusing as a person who will do anything not to go see a doctor. I'm just being straight up honest. I'm so scared. The white coat thing, everyone needs to get rid of that. Yeah. I want bunnies. But anyway, people wearing like little flowers or whatever. But where do we go at that point? How do you know who to call when?
So if you feel like you're having a heart attack, if you feel really bad, or if you do feel like you're having a heart attack or your heart's racing really fast, you feel like you're going to pass out, the emergency room is the place to go because they have the capability of taking care of high level of emergencies. Urgent cares can't really take care of, very, very sick people. They would transfer you from the urgent care to the emergency room. If you have something like a cold, runny nose, or you have a cut in your leg and needs to be seen, those things can be taken care of at the at the urgent care. If you're having a heart attack, you were in a motor vehicle accident, something is busted open, your appendix is bursted, you need to go to the emergency room because they have the ability to act quickly. They're high-level physicians on call and available 24/7 to take you emergently to get whatever needs to be fixed right away. So that's why there's a long wait in the emergency room because there are non-urgent people there, and they triage, so they always have to pick the urgent ones first. So the non-urgent people end up sitting there for long periods of time, waiting their turn and getting bumped for the sicker people.
Oh,
so
wow.
Those So those patients would do better in the urgent care.
Yeah. This is important. I'm glad I asked this because I also saw on Facebook this thing was circulating around about like, if you have the flu, here's the real thing. Like, you do not need to go to the ER because you feel like you're dying. Because guess what? The flu means you feel like you're dying. You know what I mean? Like these are the symptoms. Like there's these people like don't clog up the ERs because it seems like. Honestly, and how do you feel about this? I know we've got your answers to your 10 questions, and you touch on this, the medical industry and the affordability of it. Mm-hmm. Where do you think we are for people? I mean, it's like, some people, we don't want to go anywhere because, hey, that's going to cost us this. I mean, because even you could go to the ER and you watch TV, you watch all these medical shows, and please tell me if you think any of them are accurate because
they're not accurate.
I knew it. Ward Heinrich, the attorney that comes on our show, he goes, listen, don't watch anything on there and think it's true. Okay, so the medical thing's not true either.
No.
All right.
No.
Well, but everyone goes in there, and you see all these people go into ER or whatever.
You mean there's no cute doctors out there? Come on,
there's cute doctors. There's cute doctors. And there's some cute nurses out there, too.
That part.
Yeah. Male nurses for me. But anyway, I'll take it. I'm just saying. But you watch all these things, and you think if you go to ER and an ambulance is going to pick you up, that it's going to be paid for miraculously, and that's not the case. You're going to get a bill.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, unfortunately, it depends on what insurance you have. They may pay more of it or less of it depending on what insurance you have. Yeah, exactly. None of those things are free. Unfortunately, one hospital stay will cost a lot of money, and of course, the better insurance you have. The better your insurance, the less you would have to pay out of pocket. But yeah, it can get very expensive. It can get very expensive.
So do you think that we as just a general population need to understand the system better so that we can understand when to call? I mean, that should actually be part of our things that we learn in life, because I wasn't raised in this country, so I don't know if they teach that in schools, but from what I'm seeing out there, I don't think it is. That who do you call when, and what do you do to set yourself up? I mean, other than obviously try and keep yourself as healthy as possible, right? Which is what your book advocates for. But on top of that, do you think that society needs to actually understand how the system works? Because a lot of times we find out the wrong way.
Yeah, no, I agree, because that can also help save some money. If you're not, learning when to go to the emergency room and when to either go to urgent care or something that can wait for you to see your doctor the next day. Those things are important. One, you don't clutter the ER, and it saves you a lot of money. If you don't need high-level care and you go to the emergency room, any emergency room visit is a very expensive visit. So if you know when to go and when not to go, it saves time, money, and it just makes you a little bit more satisfied.
Yeah, that's true. So, okay, so we need to be informed, and that's part of why you wrote your book. I mean, when did you decide I'm writing a book? I know we talked about this like a year ago, but it's different now.
Yeah, I know. I decided because, let me just give a plug. February, as you learn about heart disease, especially for women or Women in Heart Health Month. So anyway, in the month of February, I'm always invited to educate women at one event or other about heart disease. And every time I would speak, and I would, every time it would be time for audience questions, women were asking me the most basic of all questions, and I realized, women just don't know these things. And, I thought maybe it'd be a good idea to put basic information into a book, into one place where, you can pick it up and read it and just learn the basics. And then, I don't talk about the whole heart disease thing in the book, but this is just to give you a basic understanding of it so that you can move on to the next level. We just need to move past the basic information. Women just need to understand that heart disease is a possibility. Actually, it's a big possibility for them to understand that it's not just a man's disease. Understand your risk factors and some of the signs and symptoms of heart disease. So that's why I wrote the book.
And let's just go into that, because we always touch on this. It's the number one killer of women in our country, in America. And that kills more women than breast and lung cancer combined. That's something I learned when you first came on the show. That's huge.
That is huge, and a lot of
cancer.
Yeah, exactly. That's a misconception that a lot of women have, and I think it's because the breast cancer people, quote unquote people, have done such an excellent job educating women about heart disease. Everybody knows about breast cancer and pink. They've done such an excellent job that every woman knows about breast cancer, but when you ask them about heart disease, they're looking at you like, what are you talking about? It's not true.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like, you're going to make me not eat meat anymore.
No, no, because I think they feel like that the man goes out and does the big work, and women get office jobs, and somehow you equate a more sedentary kind of job versus maybe a construction job. And then you go, well, that's going to have heart attack over there, but not over here. And that's where I really do think it comes from, that kind of, that's a man's
mentality.
disease, not a woman's.
Yeah, absolutely. People always think it's a man's disease, and women do, and they never think about that when it's, when they feel like, sick. Women are very good at picking out their husbands that are sick and dragging them to the emergency room, but they're not very good at taking themselves to the hospital when they don't feel very well.
And I think we're going through a lot of changes in society, and positive ones, I hope. It looks like.
Yes. And
at the same time, there's a lot of stress involved. There's always the stress of running, a household and a job, and even and your job could be, I'm at home taking care of my kids and running a household, which is huge. It's like, I don't do that because I can't. It's like, I ain't doing that.
Right.
But I respect women so much for doing that, because it's a huge job.
but
it is
I'm
a
just
huge
going to
job.
go back to the older mindset that physical labor is more stress on the heart than stress. And I think that's where, like, if you're a woman and you've got kids and you have a job or maybe two jobs, is what's happening now, you're probably under more stress than a man who goes and works on a construction site.
Absolutely.
And that's what I don't think that women see.
Yeah, we think that men doing their stuff, and because they used to write all the bills and everything, that they have the big stress.
Yeah.
Just saying.
That's what I think.
Yeah, so we need to change that myth, and we need
Yeah.
to educate women more about heart disease so that in a few years these statistics will not exist anymore for women.
Speaking of women, what's it like being a woman in the medical industry and a doctor, going and not just being a cardiologist, being a electrophysiologist, I'll get it right, and then writing and going speaking. So obviously you're building your career and spreading the word of what women need to do for their heart, which men and women need to hear, because we're all connected. But when you think about it, is there setbacks for women in the medical industry that women going into this field need to know?
Well, there aren't that many women in my field, period. And it can be quite challenging. At all levels. At the level I am right now, I sometimes, people, when patients come in to see me, they're surprised. And the first thing they say is, I wasn't expecting you, because they don't expect to see a woman. They don't expect to see a woman doctor, period, let alone a cardiologist. And, when you start talking about procedures, they're looking at you like, well, can I get a second opinion from that other doctor? They're pointing at my male colleague. And I have to explain to them that, no, I am the specialist in electrophysiologists. They are not electrophysiologists. So you can go talk to them, but they can't make recommendations about electrophysiology because they're not electrophysiologists.
That's
so
funny.
you run into that issue. Yeah, you run into that issue. I run into that issue all the time. I used to, get all upset about it. Now I doesn't even bother me anymore. I've almost come to expect patients to look at me twice. One, I look younger than my stated age, so I always have to battle that. You kid, what are you doing here? What are you doing here?
You should just make a big sign and put on your desk and go, yes, it's me.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And I will haunt you about only having 5 ounces of wine.
No, that's funny.
And no Christmas cookies for you.
It is. But you would think in this day and age that people are used to seeing women doctors, but that's not the case. That's still not the case. People
have
still
you watched Chicago Med? Because apparently there's a woman surgeon that's kicking the butt of the male surgeon in the heart specialist department. I'm just saying, but now you told me that. That's all not like there. I can't even watch that now. I knew.
We know the doctor who's going to get suspended is because he appeared on Shameless.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Listen. There's something going on in Chicago. That's all I know. But okay.
Is that right?
So I don't know. But all these TV shows with Chicago, they get down and dirty.
All come out of Chicago.
I don't know. I haven't been there yet, but I'm down to go there because that's where the blues, like just the old, like not old school, but like the electric blues was, and that's my thing. So I'm into that. But speaking of that, apparently you want to be an opera singer for a day if you could switch careers.
You so surprised me.
I go running into Nancy's office today. I'm like, Jackie wants to be an opera singer. She's like,
no way.
Really? She thought you wanted to be like a diving instructor or something, I think, But
and I thought you would be like the next David Attenborough.
Like you should be on like, the science show.
Wait.
This is a heart.
I would just clarify. I don't sing that well. I love opera music. And I had a voice instructor for a short period of time. I just love it. I mean, I come from a family really of singers. My grandmother.
Wow.
I never met her, but everyone tells me she was an awesome. It wasn't her career or anything like that, but she actually won at the Apollo. The Apollo in New York. She went on some competition and she won. and she was an excellent singer.
Wow.
And I have several people in my family that sing, and I think I love it because I think it's innate. But I didn't practice it. I didn't grow up singing or anything like that, so I'm not that good. But I definitely have the ear for good music and beautiful voices and those kinds of things. I love my opera music. I wish I could sing to that level.
Me too.
But you know.
I share that with you because some of the opera side, like theatrical side, when we got back to this country from South Africa, and we were like, okay, we got to change everything, you know, and everything was different for us, and you know, it's like we're walking in with no money, nothing, start everything over, which was cool, and we did, and we're here, and we're fine. And I was like, okay, I'm 19, I'm going to go do musical, because I'm a singer, I was going to go do musical theater, and because of the I don't know what it was, and I think it's because part of living in Africa with the voices, the deep singing, because it is operatic, and you maybe really think about that. It's incredibly operatic, where they could do runs and this heartfelt meaning, and I was all into that, and then heard certain like musicals and like Hair and things like that. But I realized that there was this deepness of voices, but they could never get my matriculate, my certification, my matric certificate to go to college here. They could never get it because the principal died, and at that time there was unrest in South Africa, so I couldn't go do what I wanted to do. Yeah, at that point, like if I wanted to wait, I would. But I was like, okay, moving on. But I had a band after that, whatever. But the musical thing of that deepness of that there's a thing with certain operas to me where it gets we just interviewed Ellen Simon from Excalibur, this Celtic rock opera, and there was this lady so deep, this alto voice.
Oh my God!
And I was
beautiful,
like, wow, like this operatic. It was the end score of this Excalibur the Fourth. I'll send you the link to that because you'll like it.
Okay.
And she had this deep voice, and then next thing you know, she was at the top of the mountain, and I'm like, how did she get there? And I want to do it because it's like wow, like it's voice. Like how do they do that? It's so amazing the changes of their voice. It is,
to
and
have
I
that
think
much
it
control.
Goes with the heart too. I think it does go with the heart because of the breathing, and all I know is the more I sang, the healthier I was because I was using my breathing, like just singing, meditation.
Absolutely. Your breath. When I took my voice lessons, he used to tell me to go swimming because you have to learn how to control your breathing and expand your lungs and all those kinds of things. So yes, that's how it all works together.
So, like, if you were going to be in the opera, which one would you want to be in?
Yeah,
I would be in La Bohème, and I would be the lead soprano. God, why am I blanking on her name right now? Yeah. Oh my God.
I can't.
Song,
I love it. I love this. I had an uncle who gave me a whole bunch of 78 records, aging myself. And they were all operas, and they were all, and at first I was like, now that sounds like a bunch of cats mating. But, well, they did. And then eventually I started to really like them.
Yeah, there's a talent that's incredible, and they will make you weep. They will make you weep.
It took some research.
You can feel the emotions of what they're singing about. You know, it's not English, but you can feel it.
You got to put it on loud. You got to open the windows. I always think that. Open the windows, and everybody must hear it, whether you like it or not.
That's right. That's right.
So, Dr. Jackie, when you look at your future in the next 10 years, from here to then, do you want things to change? Do you have a different, like, what is your success for the next 10 years?
Yeah.
What is, because we talked about excellence and success with you before, with our 8 Keys of Excellence show with Bobby DePorter, and we talked about balance, which you talk a lot about in your answers to the 10 questions. But success, what does that look like in the next 10 years?
Wow, that's a good question.
Can we put you on the Oprah show if you still had one?
Oh, yes, that would be on the list of things to do. I would say success would be, 10 years, I was going to say
You can change it.
in terms of the education of women, that heart disease becomes as well known as cancer. Like the Susan B. Komen group, we have a heart disease group that's able to push this information to the forefront, that it just rolls off the tongue of women, and they just understand, or at least know the statistics and know how to take care of themselves. And that would make
the information
me so happy. Yeah, that would make me so happy.
Well, we'll work with you on that for sure. We're there.
Okay.
We'll do that. Yeah, I think it's absolutely important, because I think that there's a lack of information sometimes, and there's a fear of information and a not knowing. That's why we're the blend.
Yeah.
It's like we can change topics, and here, we're talking about this, and then, oh, by the way, here's a little spoonful of sugar that's going to help you get better. It's important.
Exactly.
I think people don't always want to learn things like this, and it's a very difficult road you're on to get people to take a look at their health, because it's like, oh, we know we're not supposed to have more than 5 ounces, but we're doing it anyway. But if you know you at least have that conversation with yourself. You at least are starting that.
But I think historically women have put themselves in the background. The guy comes first. The family comes first.
Everyone comes first.
And everybody comes first before yourself. But without you, the rest are going to really suffer.
Exactly.
And so we need to start being a little bit more, I don't want to say selfish, I want to say selfless. Because without what we do, they're going to hurt. So we need to actually start thinking about this is going to sound really weird. Think of yourself as an automobile. If you don't have any gas, you can't go to the store and get food.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a mentality that we need to educate women about. But I truly believe in that, because I talk about, work-life balance. If you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be at 100% to take care of other people. So you really, really need to put the time in to take care of yourself, both spiritually and physically.
My grandmother used to say charity begins at home, and she said everybody thought charity meant money. And she said it wasn't about that. It was about taking care of yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
So you had a dinner party question in our 10 questions. Okay, and everyone, this will be up on BlendRadioandTV.com and featured in our March and April issue of Big Blend Radio and TV magazine. We asked you if you could invite any 3 people, alive or passed on, for a dinner party. Who would they be? Nelson Mandela, Oprah Winfrey, and Barack Obama were your answers. And I just want to say, can we bring Michelle Obama in too? Because I'm just looking at candidates for 2020. But anyhow,
I know.
No, but she understands gardening and sustainable gardening without GMOs.
Can we just add a 4th one in there if we can? Would you allow her to be in your dinner party if she said I wanted to come?
Absolutely.
Can she come meet Dr. Jackie? Okay,
yes,
cool.
Yes. No, can I go meet Michelle Obama? Yes.
I thought she did a lot for health, but she really did. I think she did change lives and made some changes there. But okay, so where is this dinner party? I just want to know, because our happy hour question, I want to know where are you gonna host them?
Where am I gonna host them?
Yeah, because now you're cooking. Or you're going to get a caterer, because you have to have that work-life balance.
Oh my God, I would want to bring them to my house. I would have to go and rent some place that's fancy or something like that. I'd be nervous about bringing. No, I'm just kidding. No, I would do it in my house. I would do it downstairs. I'll have dinner, and I probably would have someone. I'd have it catered. I would have it catered so that I don't have to be stressed out about food.
Balance,
and all that kind of stuff. So we can sit and really have a meaningful conversation, for hours on end, nonstop. Nobody's, exactly.
Yeah.
And what is there specific things you would want to ask each of them, or the same kind of thing for all 3 of them?
This almost the same kinds of questions. From all 3 of them, just to glean some of their wisdom. To me, Nelson Mandela is I just put him up on the pedestal. I just can't understand how a person can be that forgiving and loving. What he did for South Africa is just beyond, anything that I could ever dream of. And the guy was as humble as anything, just being in his presence and maybe having some of that humility and just the forgiveness just rub off on me, I would just be happy. He's just like the highest level of spirituality in my eyes. And I feel like that's where we all need to get. We need to get to that point where we can just forgive everybody and just be humble and just work together for the good of everybody, not just for yourself and, the selfishness.
It's a hard lesson, man. That's a hard thing.
It is.
But it's very freeing once you do.
It is freeing. It's
good for your heart.
To see that in him. Yeah, I know. But I wouldn't want to go to jail for, 40 years to learn that lesson. But, I would want to learn it from him. But, yeah, exactly.
And Oprah Winfrey, I know that you sent me the answers before her speech at the Golden Globes. Did you get to see her speech?
I did. It was amazing. She's a very inspiring woman. She always inspires you to be the best person you can be. She's always encouraging you, to go out there and do things and not to be, stunted by fear. I mean, she's just an amazing woman. I mean, so yes,
absolutely.
So I would love to just sit there and have a conversation with her as well. Yeah.
I think that would be important because I think what's great about her is she stood up for women predominantly throughout everything.
Yes.
And I know that, after the Golden Globes, there's like a lot of talk about her running for president, and then there's a lot of backlash of, everybody's got their thing to say, whatever. But the reality is she has always stood incredibly strong on one thing. I'm doing this for women. She still brought men on her show and did that, but it was always this focus on women, and I was like, wow, like someone's doing, when we got to this country and she had started that, I was like pretty shocked that someone was just doing something straight for women. So I think that's like you, doing that. So I think that's pretty cool. And then lastly, Barack Obama. Yeah. I mean.
Yeah. Yes, I would just love to, I mean, I think he's so intelligent. I just would love to sit there and just have a conversation with him. Yeah, he was just charismatic. I miss him so much.
I know.
Yes, I mean he was for the people, and he seemed to have a warm, kind heart, and he was he was just an amazing person.
Well,
and Michelle
Jackie,
can come too. Yeah.
I've got before you go, we're gonna play a song for you, okay? And you get to choose. Okay. Because I picked two women that could go up there vocally. It's not opera, but they could do it if they really wanted to.
Okay.
But I always ask you to tell everybody the signs of a heart attack of a woman, because it's important that everyone knows, because it's different than a man. So can you give everyone that overview of a woman having a heart attack, how it could look?
So it's the typical signs of a heart attack, I always have to start out with that, because some women can have these symptoms as well. The typical signs of heart attack include left-sided chest pressure that sometimes radiate down the arm or up the jaw, associated with shortness of breath, sweaty. But some women may not necessarily present with those symptoms. I think something in the literature, about 40% of women don't come to the ER with chest pain when they're having a heart attack. They can have some non-specific symptoms like fatigue, nausea, vomiting, overall just not feeling well, and sometimes not being able to articulate that you're not feeling well, but overall not feeling well. So what I advise women to do, because a lot of times they're not sure whether they're having a heart attack, is one, you need to know what your risk factors are for heart disease. And if you do have a number of these risk factors, if you have these non-specific signs, if you have multiple of these signs like shortness of breath or fatigue, nausea, vomiting all together, you should come to the emergency room and have that checked out. It's better to be safe and told that you're not having a heart attack than to be told, well, you had a heart attack 5 days ago, why are you just coming in now? Your prognosis is bad, and all those kinds of things.
Right on. So everyone, importantly, get the book, Women and Heart Disease, The Real Story. Go to womenandheartdiseasebook.com, also on Amazon. And also you can read Dr. Jackie's articles and listen to her past interviews. They're always fun, as you can tell. Go to blendradioandtv.com and look in our expert department and click on Dr. Jackie. But Dr. Jackie, music for you. Okay, so I'm going to give you three song titles because I can't choose for you. Is it As I Give My Heart, I Am Here, or Unstoppable? Which title resonates with you the most?
Unstoppable.
I knew it.
I know it. That's what I picked for you too. Okay, so Unstoppable is like, okay, I knew it because that's exactly how I feel about you, and I wanted to play that, and I was like, okay. So Doreen Taylor she's like a force, she's a force of nature, just like you are. She has taken her music career to the heights. She just did Oscar and Hammerstein, an off-Broadway show with that, and in New York, and she's out there trying to actually save his house, the actual farm that he lived in. Yeah,
oh, wow.
I mean, it's like this whole story. She's been on our shows for years, and this is her latest album, which is the album is called Happily Ever After, but it's called Unstoppable, and it's
the
actually
song.
Yes. The song is called Unstoppable, and this is for Joe Frazier, the boxer. Actually, the song that she wrote it for him was because he used to come to her concerts all the time, and it was about him being unstoppable and standing up. And it was interesting. We actually interviewed a band that wrote a song for Muhammad Ali because he said he was going to be unstoppable against Joe Frazier. But anyway, I don't know anything about boxing and wrestling or anything like that. But anyway, they're all friends. But this song is cool, and she's got an amazing voice, Billboard charting musician and singer, songwriter. So here it is, Unstoppable for you, Dr. Jackie. Thank you so much, and we will be unstoppable with you to keep spreading the message of women's heart disease for sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you so much for having me on.
You bet, man. Anytime. And we can't wait for your next appearance. It'll happen, and we're going to be talking about the 8 Keys of Excellence. We've got a lot to talk about over the years. So here it is, everyone. Unstoppable. Again, women-and-heartdisease.book.com. Women, go get it. Men, go get it for your friends and your women in your life, and also read it because you need to understand what women are, going through too. Don't you think, Dr. Jackie, men have to have this education too? I'm just saying.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Men have to understand this as well.
Yeah, because the son needs to know what his mother's going through and all that good stuff. So here it is, Unstoppable. Bye.
When you fall, get up on your feet and dance. When you're done, get back in and give it a chance. When you're down, don't let people push you around. Yeah, you are unstoppable if you take it day by day. You are unstoppable. Meant to be will always find a way. Rain is coming down, the sun is coming out, light is gonna shine on you. Never give up on found you.